It is now in order to consider Amendment Number 12, printed in Part C of House Report 111506. For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana seek recognition?
I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk, is the gentleman the designee of Ms. Jackson Lee?
I believe that she is one of the original, yes.
The clerk will designate the amendment to...
Number 12, printed in Part C of House Report Number 111-506, offered by Mr. Gao of Louisiana.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1436, the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Gao, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Louisiana.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I would like to yield myself as much time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized, and would you speak up?
Thank you very much. And I rise today in support of Amendment 12 to H.R. 5297, the Small Business Lending Fund Act of 2010, and I urge my colleagues to support this amendment. This amendment requires the Secretary of Treasury to provide consideration in the allocation of funds to Gulf region states in the areas where businesses and the economy have been adversely affected by the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. I thank the gentle lady from Texas for her partnership in drafting this amendment and for her consideration for Gulf Coast communities during our time of crisis. I'd like to thank the gentleman from Alabama, the ranking member of the Financial Services Committee, for his ongoing assistance and support. The district that I represent includes Louisiana's Orleans and Jefferson parishes. Across the Gulf Coast, we were still recovering from the devastating storms of 2005 when we were hit with the latest disaster. The oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico in April presents us with economic, environmental, and health challenges of unprecedented proportions. The shutters have gone down on businesses throughout the Gulf region because they simply do not have the short-term or long-term resources to operate. Industries such as fishing and seafood processing, recreational fishing, restaurants, and tourism are suffering disproportionately. I have spoken with hundreds of fishermen and oystermen from my district who are no longer able to fish the waters they and their families have fished for generations. Many have spoken of desperation for not knowing how they will provide for their families. Tens of thousands of claims have been filed through BP, and the SBA has made disaster loans available to businesses adversely affected by the oil spill and will defer loan payments for 1 year. These provide only temporary relief, however, and a long-term solution for economic assistance to the Gulf region is what is needed now, because the last thing we need is more unemployment. Without immediate economic assistance, the very businesses that in 2005 returned to Orleans and Jefferson parishes committed to our recovery will be forced to leave. This amendment is a strong step in the right direction to providing desperately needed economic assistance because it will see that small businesses along the Gulf Coast receive the credit necessary to keep our businesses alive. At the same time, it will spur new businesses which can absorb any unavoidable and unfortunate job losses caused by the oil spill. Again, I urge my colleagues to pass this amendment, and I would like to reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Texas rise?
I rise to claim the time in opposition, but I will not oppose the amendment.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized.
I'm delighted to have Mr. Gao join my amendment that I offered in committee, in the Rules Committee, and I'm delighted that he was able to rise to claim the time for this amendment. This is an amendment that I've written and asked Mr. Gao to join me as he had a similar amendment, and I appreciate very much the support that he has given and recognize the concerns that he has expressed. I want to support the underlying bill as well, and to make note of the fact that small businesses are now facing the most difficult time in the worst recession in our history. According to a February 2010 report of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, total bank loans and leases declined for the sixth straight quarter, with total loans to commercial and industrial borrowers declining 4.3%, and real estate construction development loans declining by 8.4%. But what that means is that small businesses get the strongest hit. And this bill will focus in particular on the question of providing a lending scheme, a lending structure, which is paid for to provide the startup credit for our small businesses. Well, here we find ourselves addressing an enormity that has occurred, an enormous crisis that has occurred in the Gulf. During the Memorial Week recess, I did a flyover of the Gulf and the Deepwater Horizon and saw the magnitude and the growth of this disaster. Now somewhere between millions, or at least 1 million gallons, but somewhere between 20 and 40,000 barrels per day are gushing into the Gulf. We don't know where this is going to stop. Many small businesses are impacted in the Gulf states. That would include Florida, that would include Texas, that would include Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. This amendment that I'm delighted to be joined by with Mr. Gao is to, in fact, cause lending institutions to focus resources on the small business community. Even Linda Smith, who owns the Alligator Cafe in Houston, Texas, is shut down because she cannot get product. I imagine in New Orleans, and when I visited that city, there were restaurants who seemed to close early because they couldn't get product. But what about the oystermen and shrimpers and fishermen who cannot seem to get a lump sum payment from BP as we've advocated for? And just speaking to a oysterman in Port Lahash just a few minutes ago, he indicated he had not gotten his money. So therefore, I am asking my colleagues to support this amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Louisiana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, I just want to express my gratitude and appreciation to the gentle lady from Texas. She has been a very strong voice and has been very committed to the Gulf Coast region and in helping the many people who are in desperate need. Again, I'd like to convey to her my thanks, and I'd like to yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. The gentlewoman from Texas.
Thank you, and I thank the gentleman from Louisiana and New Orleans, especially for his leadership. I look forward to working with him as we go forward on legislation that addresses some of the concerns I heard him express and really establish a real national energy policy. I would ask my colleagues to support this amendment. As I indicated, I have obtained the time in opposition but will not oppose the amendment that we have both offered on the floor of the House, and argue vigorously that this is an excellent opportunity to protect small businesses who are yet noted, who are yet listed, who are going to be impacted across that Gulf, from tourism in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, on to the shrimpers and fishermen and oystermen, and the restaurants that are now in a condition where they are shutting down, they are letting go of their employees, and they are pleading for assistance. This is a good amendment. It is a good amendment to this legislation that focuses on our small businesses, and I'd ask my colleagues to support this amendment. I yield back my time.
The gentlewoman yields back her time. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman, Mr. Cow from Louisiana. Those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
With that, I ask for the yeas and nays.
Does the gentlewoman ask for a recorded vote?
I ask for a recorded vote.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule